Hello guys, so welcome back to the Crew Wild Run, driving all cars, part number 75. The RUF 3400K, which is sort of a tuned Porsche Cayman. 3400 standing for assuming the 3.4 6-cylinder boxer engine that is in there. This thing comes with a dirt performance rate and a circuit spec. 394 horsepower I saw there, if I'm not mistaken 320 or 330 horsepower in the Porsche. But yeah, this is the tuned version, so probably this number is correct for the RUF. We already covered the other two RUFs earlier in this season, when we were doing those with a drag car. This one doesn't have a drag car, so that's still one that I needed to do. Acceleration test as always, I'm gonna do 4 of them in this case because we have 4 specs available. So let's start with the dirt. The RUF RT35 is still the fastest in dirt with 26.3 seconds. And that's probably where this one will lose us out, is probably on the acceleration. I have tested the dirt cars on a certain track at one point, sort of making a dirt ranking of the cars. And surprisingly on that track, this car came second after the other RUF. But it lacks a bit acceleration, that I do know, or at least remember. .3, that's about 1 second slower than the other RUF, the RUF RT35. Sorta in the middle of the pack. We have a bunch of high 26 and low 27 cars in dirt. So average acceleration for the dirt spec. Performance spec, let's have a look at this one. It does have a 6th gear, but it took quite a while before it got there, resulting in a 23.9. It is still a 23-second car, so it's average, but it's also in the middle of the pack. Above average is the low 23 cars, and 24 seconds is sorta below average. So this is somewhere in the middle again. So average acceleration seems to be something that kinda comes back. Moving to the race spec, which is not that bad. But well, I don't know. The more I've been doing these acceleration tests, it seems to me that most of the rate specs kind of limited at 240 or 241 or something like that on this Bonneville flat for some reason. although some of them can do 260, 270, even over 300 with slipstream, but 30.4 also in the middle of the pack, but yeah, most of the race spec that I've tested here done 30 seconds, give or take 2 exceptions within a 29, and then of course KTM bike with an even lower time, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check here to be sure. Yeah, KTM did 28.9, but that's kind of an exception. The rest, in general, all 30 seconds, because yeah, they were all kind of limited around 240 kilometers an hour. The circuit spec, which from what I hear before the wild run, I wasn't there but then, I only bought this game after the wild run. But before the wild run, this was one of the best circuit specs around from what I hear. But they have patched it apparently, because 2 people were complaining about it, that it was too OP and so on. A low 23 seconds, also this one is, well, that's even below average, I'd say. So the acceleration is not really a plus for this car, at least not on the Bonneville surface. But we tested them all on the Bonneville surface, so it will give you some sort of an idea. If you do it on the road, they might be faster on a mile, but the ranking will sort of be the same. All the way down the bottom of the list of dirt specs. That's a quick response. The handling is more than okay. It's not that big, not that wide, so not that long. So it's a small thing which makes it kind of easy to throw it around. Meanwhile, we were doing over 300 kilometers an hour already. That is the other plus next to the handling is the top speed. And that's not only for this pick, that's will sort of come back later on as well, and which kind of makes this a pretty decent car. I've done a dirt track once where I tested them all and for some sort of dirt ranking, but yeah, that's all relative of course, because it depends a lot on the tracks. If you have a track with long straights, which I kinda had, long straights and big jumps, and this thing is pretty good on jumps, and it also has a high top speed, so that's why it probably came into second place. But it is for sure, although the handling is a bit tricky at times, might surprise you, let's put it that. It misses some acceleration, but other than that it's pretty good dirt spec. Because also the bigger brother being the RUF RT35 also is a bit tricky to handle, especially with the keyboards. So, but it's still the best there is. But if you really have sharp corners, this one, well, slides about a bit more and lacks mainly the acceleration. So coming out of the corners, the other RUF is going to pull away, and that's the biggest problem of this car. But other than that, it keeps going. The handling is nothing to really worry about. I mean, like with all the cars, you sort of need to get used to it a bit, and then it will be just fine. Seeing it is smaller, it reacts faster to your movements, of course, and that's probably why it sometimes surprises you by your own doing, because you're used to driving bigger cars, and if you do the same steering moves, then this thing is going to surprise you, seeing it's way smaller. But we're constantly doing 260 to 70 on the main problem is the acceleration, so you sort of have to spam the nitro or the nuts or whatever you want to call it, the boost. If you spam it a bit coming out of corners, giving it a little bit of help every time you come out of the corner, then this thing is pretty good. .310 kilometers an hour we were doing, and not really on the limiter yet, so probably just 315 or something, which is definitely not bad for a dirt spec. So Topspeed, it has, the handling is well, you need to get used to it, but once you are used to it, it's pretty good. It has, well, it sort of has two problems. First of all, the acceleration, and that's, well, sort of hanging together with the second problem with this thing, and that is it has pretty long gears, mainly fifth gear and also fourth gear sometimes. And that sort of, well, blocks the acceleration at 6,200, 6,400 RPM. It kind of sticks there for quite a while before it changes gear, and that's a bit of a problem. Also the rate spec not superbly fast away from the start. This thing can also be used for crew events or something, because also this one has a pretty good top speed, and with slipstream I think it even goes over 300 kilometers an hour. Sort of like the Mini and the BMW Z4. Based on top speed, they are not bad, but the problem with this sort of the same like with the Z4 and the Mini. If you really push it about on the let's say rougher terrain, it can flip over or crash cam activated or stuff like that. But also in rate, not a bad spec. Already the front lifted up there, and I think it is a bit too light for being a race spec. But also in this one we are doing 250. But sometimes it thinks it's an airplane. That's sort of the problem with the race spec. But if you can keep it straight, which is not always the case, but if you can, it keeps on going. But also this one a bit of average acceleration, like it has in all tests, in all specs like we saw in the test. So you need to give it a bit of help here and there by boosting it a bit with some nitro or NOS, whatever you guys call that. Being small, you can easily flick it around, so that's not really an issue. But like that uphill section there, it lacks acceleration, and I was already out of nitro, so couldn't help it. There are some jumps here on this track that I doing in these videos. It's not like there are suddenly rocks or something, because if they were, then you might have a problem with this thing. There you go. Perfect example what the problem of this race spec is. Besides the slower acceleration compared to the better specs, it is, I think it's too light for rate, and it tends to flip over. If you can avoid that, it's a pretty good one, but on more rough terrain than this, you cannot always avoid it. And with some of the cars you get some, how should I say it, a bit of two-wheel action, driving on two wheels, but they keep going. This one not. This one will roll over or spin out or something like that. So you're gonna lose time. It's not a bad one, but well, if we go for the off-road, I kind of prefer the dirt over the rate. But it can be used though. It's not like it's super slow, it has a good top speed, so that's already a plus. Handling is pretty good, only for this rate spec, a bit too light and it flips over. The RUF RT in performance spec was, well, sort of average. So my guess is that this will also be something like that. It is small, so sort of has a quick response. Brakes seems to be okay. Despite the fact that it's raining, it's well, pretty easy to keep it on the road, so the handling is kind of okay. You get a little bit slight or oversteer or understeer even sometimes, but not that it's really suffering from it. Easy to correct with this little thing, so. But also this one just lacks a bit of acceleration. .390 something, and it was not on the limiter, so I'm guessing you can reach almost 400 km an hour with it, which is more than okay in performance on that section. Seems to be a great thing coming back here. So this might be one of those that also flips over in performance spec. Can have some fun with it in free drive or something, but not gonna break records with this thing, I think. It's a bit better than average, but it is just an average performance spec. And so will this thing probably be. It's one of the better ones, but they patched it the wild run, I believe, or because people were complaining on the forums that it was too good or something like that. That's what I read. .2 seconds at the mile for the acceleration, so which makes it sort of average acceleration. Is that what they patched? I don't know, because other than that, there was some traffic and I'm messing about here a bit, but other than that it kind of sticks to the road. So if they have patched this thing, then I can understand that this was a very good one before the wild run. Or before they patched it, whenever they did that, but yeah, smoothly dives into the corners and sticks to the road. And I'm assuming it has a good top speed, so they probably patched the acceleration. This being a circuit spec, it has 7 gears, so it's not suffering that much from the longer 5th gears you see coming back in the other specs. Yeah, speed doesn't seem to be a problem. We were already doing 400 something, 417. Also there they probably did a little patch. We got a 420, 425 maximum or something with the better specs, and but 417 is still good. And since it is small, you can also well, easily corrected if something goes wrong, I guess. But yeah, they repatched it, and with average acceleration in all the specs here, in the 4 specs that it has, acceleration is kind of important in this game. As we saw in this acceleration test in most of the videos, the better specs in each of the specs, the better cars, the Skyline in street and the RUF in dirt and so on, they all kind of had the best acceleration, or at least close to the best. And this one has an average acceleration, so I don't know. It handles quite okay, it has top speed, but acceleration and long gears seems to be a bit of a problem. And also in some spec, stability. So I don't know, best use are probably going, although this one is also not that bad, but personally I would go for the dirt spec if I would use one of these. We'll see you guys in the next one, and bye for now.